everything that is so difficult about this administration just on display in the moment. Just the even actions that it might take that can be successful are fraught with his fragility at all times. We obliterated their nuclear program. Well, the early intelligence says, oh, that's scumbags reported that, and people that hate the pilots. And you just think, hey, man, if it's real and all the things that you said you had accomplished had been accomplished, then it shouldn't be that hard to not be so defensive and angry all the time.
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here, and let's be honest. When Jon Stewart unleashed this takedown of Donald Trump over his Iran bombing charade, it wasn't just funny. It was scathing, and it was absolutely necessary.
And just the shallowness sometimes of their, J.D. Vance, people are saying, we're concerned about intervention in the Middle East and how these things can have unforeseen consequences and instability throughout. And J.D. Vance says, yes, he said, no, we understand that that's something the American people are afraid of. But, the American people have never had a smart person before. Now we have a smart person that thinks anybody that might possibly look into whether or not it was actually obliterated is a scumbag. Press Secretary Caroline Levitt comes out and they ask her, was it obliterated? And she says, everybody knows what happens when you drop bunk. Everybody knows.
When we look at the entirety of the intelligence that we have to this date, it concludes that these strikes on the Iranian nuclear facilities were absolutely successful. It was a total obliteration, as the president said.
These weapons have never been used before in the history of the planet. But everybody knows what happened. It's just beyond the silliness.
Stewart zeroed in on the absurdity of Trump parading around after the Iran strike like he had just saved the world. What did we get from the so-called commander-in-chief? A hat, literally. Trump was right about everything, printed proudly, like we're all supposed to buy a fitted cap and forget that he just risked World War III.
Give me this here. Give me all of them.
Sure.
Look. Yes. See that? Trump was right about everything. It just came in. Somebody sent it. I said, this was sent in by a fan. I said, I think we should make some of them, right? But we were, pretty much. You want one?
It is such an amazing moment when you see a guy who's the commander-in-chief of the United States and the president of the United States in a situation room with Trump was right about everything hat. Like how many of history's great leaders had their own merch?
You know who didn't walk around in campaign merch during a war? Roosevelt, Churchill, Stalin. They met at Yalta to stop fascism, not sell t-shirts. Stewart mocked that perfectly. Imagine FDR in a Fear Itself t-shirt sold on Roosevelt's website. That's where we are now. Presidential ego with a Shopify plug-in. And here's the deeper point. Trump isn't a leader. He's a pop-up brand. His presidency was never about strategy or diplomacy. It was about performance, selling strength while governing through tantrums. Even when things might go well, when a military action achieves some kind of surface-level success, Trump still can't help but spiral into defensiveness. As Stewart said, even actions that might be successful are fraught with his fragility. Why? Because Trump is a balloon. One prick of truth and he deflates. He needs constant praise because his ego can't sustain silence. That's why the entire MAGA ecosystem revolves around him. It's not a movement. It's narcissistic abuse scaled nationally. And the sycophants, they line up like groupies to protect the myth. Caroline Levitt lies through her teeth daily. She's not informing the press. She's running damage control for a cult leader. She stands up there with a cross around her neck and lies to your face, draped in Christian nationalism and right-wing fairy tales. And that's what Stewart was ripping apart. He wasn't just mocking Trump. He was mocking the entire illusion. Let's not forget that Stewart isn't just a comedian. He's a truth teller. He called out how Trump lashed out at early intelligence reports that contradicted his narrative. Think about it. When a reporter mentioned that his own intel chief, Tulsi Gabbard at the time, said Iran didn't have nukes, Trump exploded. Who said that? And when he was told it was his own DNI, his answer? She's wrong. He doesn't want intel. He wants affirmation. He doesn't want facts. He wants fan fiction. And the media, especially Fox News, they prop it all up. Stewart exposed it. 23 members of his administration came straight from Fox News. That's not a White House. That's a casting call for fascist-friendly anchors. Then comes J.D. Vance like a hype boy. Vance said, Americans are rightly concerned about intervention in the Middle East, but not to worry, because this time we have a smart president. Excuse me? So now the test of leadership is whether he makes you feel like he's smart? Not whether he listens to intelligence, follows the law, or keeps the country safe. Trump ignored his own advisors, lied about the strike, slept through intelligence briefings, and overplayed the damage, and then launched a merch campaign. That's not genius. That's delusion. When someone questioned the results of the bombing, J.D. Vance said anyone who doubted Trump was a scumbag. That's not policy. That's cult behavior. That's the playbook. Attack dissent, rewrite facts, sell strength you didn't earn. And Caroline Levitt, when asked if the bombing was successful, her response? Everybody knows what happens when you drop bombs. But the facts that Stewart laid out was that no, we don't know, because these weapons have never been used before. That's not a press secretary. That's a buzzword blender. When she said everybody knows, what she really meant was don't ask questions. She is the human embodiment of Fox News, confident, polished, and completely full of shit. And Stewart tore it all apart, the shallowness, the dishonesty, the absurdity, because this is what they do. They brand failure as strength, package disaster as leadership, and wrap it all up in a flag they don't actually honor. J.D. Vance, Caroline Levitt, Donald Trump. They don't serve the people. They serve the ego of one man. They serve a lie, and then they gaslight the rest of us for noticing. You MAGA folks want to scream about how tough Donald Trump is. You want to praise him for bombing Iran while ignoring the consequences. You voted for this. So when the pain comes, and it is coming, own it. Stop blaming Joe Biden. He's not the president anymore. And when he was, he handed Donald Trump the strongest economy in the world. Trump wrecked it within 100 days. So if you can't afford groceries now, that's on you. If our allies no longer trust us, that's on you. If World War III is knocking on the door, you invited it in. You laughed when we warned you. You said we were making it up. And now we're here. Russia is testing Europe. China is circling Taiwan. The Middle East is on fire, and your t-shirt doesn't come with a policy manual. Jon Stewart wasn't just roasting Trump. He was throwing up a flare, a warning, a wake-up call. If you don't want to hear it from a liberal, fine. Hear it from history, because history will not remember Donald Trump kindly, and neither should you. And that is an absolute fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.